A woman recounts the time her husband contracted the CCPvirus, commonly known as the novel coronavirus, and her lone struggle in the virus epicenter of Wuhan. Ms. Chen, 67, runs an auto parts business. She contracted the CCPvirus from her husband, who passed away on February 11th. She had been quarantined for 4 days at the time of the interview.
When did your husband get sick? In January?
He had a fever on January 30th. There was no place to go. Every clinic was packed, too many patients. Even the hospital corridors were full of people. We're close to the West Wuhan Union Hospital. I took him to the hospital on a motorcycle. There were people trying to make an appointment in the outpatient department 24 hours a day. For 4 days, I had driven him there just to get a shot and then bring him home. It would take a whole day to get it done, just to get a shot and get the medicine. On the 4th day, he was too weak to get on the motorcycle. I had to secure him with a rope so he wouldn't fall off the motorcycle as we drove to the hospital. On the 5th day, he could not move anymore. We were in the hospital. I went home to grab a blanket, and I left him in the corridor. When I returned, I placed several benches together and laid the blanket over them. But he kept on falling off. The nurse was too tired and too busy to help. Finally, a hospital leader took pity and arranged a ward for us. In less than 2 weeks, he passed away. Before he died, he lost his appetite. The ventilator kept him alive, but he couldn't take a sip of water as he was hooked up to it. In the ward, family members were required to take care of the patients. On the 4th day, I began to feel ill. I had a fever too. I was really tired. I thought my husband was already motionless. He could barely move his fingers. He was very quiet and no longer talked. He didn't drink water. I had to hang on. So I went to the outpatient to schedule an appointment for myself. I spent the whole day doing the tests. When I went back to the ward, the nurse was furious. I told her she can do whatever she wanted to. I will soon be gone after he's gone. Then I talked to my husband and said, I will follow you after you're gone. I knew that was it. The next day, the hospital transferred my husband to the new part of the hospital. I got excited because I thought he'd be all right. It was the evening of the 10th of February. I remembered well. He was transferred to the new hospital after 9 p.m. The next morning, the hospital called and told me he had passed away. They wanted me to sign a paper. I was very sick myself. I thought, what's the point of signing a paper? Just let it be. They can decide whatever they want to. Let the government decide. He's already gone. Nothing can be changed.
Did you also get the shot?
I did, for 3 days. I also took the medicine. I thought, I can't go home and get my kids sick, so I stayed in the hospital. There was no food. The city was locked down, so I put on a mask and went to a nearby shop to get some instant noodles. I was very careful and wore protective gear so I wouldn't infect others. On the 3rd night, I was told that I could go to the Red Cross hospital. The Red Cross hospital was packed with people. They did the test on me, including the CT. I stayed overnight. The doctor prescribed the medicine. I needed oxygen, but the oxygen tank was empty. But when they found another one, it had no oxygen tube. The nurse asked me to find one. Feeling unwell, I had to drag myself while looking for a tube. And when I found one, the nurse plugged it into the oxygen tank. The next evening, another call came. We were transferred to the makeshift hospital in the stadium. At that time, I felt too weak. I could not even walk to the restroom. It was really far away. After getting a health assessment, the doctor transferred me back to the West Wuhan Union Hospital. I'd stay there for another 10 plus days.
How was the treatment at the hospital?
My stomach was not feeling well. I had diarrhea for several days. I was given all sorts of shots for more than 10 days. Finally, I felt a little better. When I was in the makeshift hospital, I was constantly out of breath whenever I moved a little. I felt better in the West Wuhan Union Hospital. I am still in quarantine. I can't go out.
When will you finish your quarantine?
It's a mandatory 14-day quarantine. Today is the 4th day, so I still have 10 more days to go.
What else have you noticed in the hospital?
Since we went into the hospital, in those 2 weeks, people kept on dying. You don't see it because they moved the body from another aisle. When my husband was admitted into the hospital, I saw dead people removed from the hospital every day. Some died right after they arrived. Some took a few hours. They all died quickly.
What's in your mind now?
I have awakened. I realize that money is useless, and I want to live life to the fullest. I am 67 years old. I won't live much longer. I'm lucky to be alive. I have to stay strong. How could I survive otherwise? Life has to continue. Those who have never been infected treat us as if we're ghosts. It is a miserable life for people like us. I have heard discriminative stories almost every day. The government should allow us to air our grievances. How can we lead our life after, with or without contracting the virus? How are we going to live our lives? It's a really bitter situation. The Wuhan people who have been infected are being discriminated against. It's really painful.